walking outside. Hold on. LeeNor, join me. I'm getting a coffee. Hi.
Hi, how are
How are
you?
you? I'm good. I'm outside right now. I'm just gonna get a quick coffee and then I think I'm gonna do the live outside. So let's just get started since we don't have that much time. But thank you so much for joining. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy we're doing another live.
I know,
Hi
I
everyone.
love this. How are you guys? Thank you for joining. It's so wonderful to be here again. Ariel, it's been a hot minute, so thank you for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, so everyone, thank you guys for joining. For those who don't know, LeeNor, we actually met through networking. So that's why we want to talk about this subject today. But she's an amazing life coach as well. She's also, I think like you're more so pushing towards like the entrepreneur side of things now, aren't you?
Right, yeah, I like to go by, I mean, I still do obviously life coaching and incorporate that into my practice, but I've moved more towards success coaching because I think really just helping people find their purpose and pursue that is kind of like an overarching way to help them enjoy life more. So, yeah.
Right, right. That's amazing. What made you decide to do that? Thank you.
I guess because passion and purpose is such an important pillar of life, and I feel like we can work on ourselves, we can do the healing work, and we can, take care of self-care and mental health and all of that. But at the end of the day, as we're doing that, we're actually working towards the end goal of waking up every day loving our life, right? And one of the best
Mm-hmm.
ways to do that is to wake up feeling like life has meaning, and one of the best
Right.
ways to do that is purpose. So that's kind of where it came from. And I also want to give people the opportunity to be, have a freedom lifestyle, be financially independent, and not be locked into the system feeling kind of stuck.
Right. Amazing. I love that. And I think that's a perfect segue into talking about our topic today. So, guys, today we are talking about how to network without feeling intimidated. And I think both me and LeeNor have a lot of experiences with networking digitally and also in person. I have a ton of experiences to speak to because that's basically what I did when I first came to Toronto. Like, I moved here 4 years ago. I barely knew anyone. And for me, I just started to go to networking events. Like, that was the biggest thing I started to do. Um, and it was amazing. But also, like, the reason why we named it How to Network Without Feeling Intimidated is because it is very intimidating for a lot of people. When I first started networking, I was so scared of just approaching strangers. Like, most people are scared of doing that, right? So I think we can definitely give some tips to that. So I guess like for you, LeeNor, like with your experiences with networking, did you have to go through that hump too? Like, how was that for you when you first started?
Yeah, so I 100% relate to your story. It was kind of a zero to nothing or a zero to everything for me as well. I was like not doing any networking. I didn't have to, right? I was like just a student in college. It didn't come up. And then when I was like in my later years in college, it was like we had to network for internships, for jobs, and also for scholarships event. All these things came up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden I had all of these events to go to with no experience, and I was terrified because it was like, for me, I'd always been a person who was, extroverted in my group, but never someone who just wanted to like go out there and talk to new people. Like, no one really, it's something that everyone has to build up to, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy because now I love it. I love networking. It's actually like when people ask me like what are, your passions, one of them is actually networking because it's like people are so fascinating, they're so cool, and like when you go out there and you meet new people, you expand your horizons, your circle, and a lot of magic can come from that. And I
For
think it was
sure.
that specific mindset shift which is what allowed me to go from that fear of, oh my god, this is scary, look, other human beings, to wow, like they're just other human beings,
For
they're
sure.
beautiful people to get to know. So
Yeah, and I feel like, well, so many pigeons. Like, excuse me. Um, I feel like the whole term networking is pretty labeled too, because in reality, unless you're going to like a networking event, networking is just freaking connecting with people. You're just connecting with like-minded people or not like-minded people, because that's what sometimes you're searching for, right? You're seeking for. So I feel like I think that's like maybe one of the first things you for people that who get intimidated by networking can think about is networking is basically just making friends, like making
Right.
connections. So
Um,
um, okay, I'm gonna sit here. um, so I guess like for you, when do you think you started to build your networking skills, and what did you think was what were you doing?
Yeah, so it was probably about junior, senior year of university. The most of the like events that kind of caused me to come out of my shell is one scholarship events where we had to show up and thank the donors for our scholarships. And so all the people that had received scholarships went, and then all the donors went. And so it was really
Mhm.
intimidating because it was like,
Right.
these donors were these well-established, like incredible people. And I felt like
Yeah.
such a small, little student.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of where it started. And I actually started my first business as well around that time. So junior year in college, junior or senior year in between that summer. And that one, I actually am not doing that anymore. But at that point, I also had to network for that. And it's same thing. I was still scared. It was very much a process. It was not like, okay, let's go, mindset shift, and then all of a sudden it was easy. It was like I had to step out of the comfort zone first to realize that beyond the comfort zone, there's actually really beautiful, exciting experiences to be lived. And it only seems scary when you're in the comfort zone looking out, but when you're actually living it, you're like, wow, like I can meet people who have different backgrounds than me, who have opportunities for me, that I have opportunities for them. And it's just like this magic is created because you never know like who you're gonna meet, right?
Yeah, 100%. I would say though, like what I had so many questions when you were talking. Um, I guess like actually, you know what? I want to ask you and the audience, like whoever's on this live right now, I want you guys to tell me. Um, when are you guys for people that are intimidated by networking, or if you're shy, are you more so scared of the aspect of talking to like strangers in public and approaching strangers in public? Because even like talking to strangers in public, that's a pretty general statement. So is it like approaching people? And for you, LeeNor, like in the past, like is it approaching people, or is it like um, getting the conversation going, or like not knowing what to say, or like even attending the event? And are you thinking more so actual networking events, or do you guys actually struggle with just like talking to people and making new friends in general? And I feel like we should clarify on that, because I think for a lot of people, these fears are strong, but they stem from different places.
Right.
And I was actually just on a coaching, so I offer my conscious conversation calls, and I was talking. I don't know, he's probably not here, but this I talked to one of my clients yesterday, and he just graduated from high school, and he's going into college, and his biggest concern was meeting new people. And this is like the same thing. He's just really scared of approaching people, and then he's always thinking about what he has to say. But I just feel like in the last while, everyone I talk to who has some sort of hesitation with connecting with people, it's all different. So I want to understand, like, for you guys, like what is the intimidating part? So I guess like someone wrote approaching people, keeping a conversation flowing, yeah, not knowing what to say, keeping the conversation going. Yeah. Yeah. From for me, when I first started networking, the two biggest things, I think the biggest thing I was scared of, and I think most people are, is just approaching people. Like, especially, it's weird because I think again, when we're in school, we actually have a lot of opportunities to go to networking events. And when I first came to Toronto, Toronto's a huge city. I live downtown. There was always like networking events happening. So I would go to those. And I feel like a lot of people get scared at networking events. It almost seems like when you're just at like a social gathering, it seems more casual to approach
Right.
strangers. But at a networking event, you get scared. But then if you really think about it, at a networking event, that is the basis of the event. That is why we're all here. So like you should be less scared, because you
Yeah.
know there's gonna be random people approaching you, right? So I first want to say, if you guys ever go to a networking event, just keep that in mind. Everyone else there is there to meet people, new people.
Right.
So don't ever feel scared approaching people, because that's what you're there to do. But I guess LeeNor, like for you in the beginning, what made you scared of these things?
Yeah, I think it was probably exactly what you're saying is like the environment itself felt more intimidating, right? So it's like not even so much, it's like, okay, it's like two avenues. Let's imagine it's like there's a gathering of friends here, people around your age, friends of friends, whatever. It's all these people that you don't know that you're gonna meet. Or there's a networking event with all these people in suits and ties and dresses. They look really nice. They all seem professional. You walk
Mm-hmm.
into either room, which one is going to be easier for you to approach someone, right? It
Mm-hmm.
really is the psychology of the environment. And I think when we
Yeah.
approach a networking event, we have this like internal limiting belief that incorporates kind of this comparison aspect of, oh my God, like, look at her, look at him, like, he looks so put together, you know, he
Mm-hmm.
must have his shit together. Like, how many years has he been doing this? How many years has she been doing that? Whatever it is, we start to create stories in our head about these
Yeah.
people before we even give them the chance to give us their stories, right? And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that was probably the biggest part is not so much necessarily like just approaching someone in general, but approaching someone that my internal limiting belief was, what could I have to offer them, right? That
Mm.
comparison. And I think when we start to level back down and see people as humans, as friends, as
Yes.
the same, then that's really where it's at. We're
Yeah.
all the same guys. Like, we cry, we
Yeah.
sneeze, we
We
laugh.
sneeze, yeah. Hey, are you one of those sneezers who actually sneeze out loud, or do you hold it in? Are you like, or are you like,
I think it depends who I'm with.
really? Okay, because I just let it out. I know a lot of people that do like the holding it in. I'm just like, that's not like satisfying. It sounds like you're just like holding it in. Anyways, I diverge. I think that was such a good point. I love that point you just made because that is so true. I think, especially, I think people, if any of you guys are still in school and you're just starting to try to network, you get into this whole mindset of like going into networking events and you kind of what's the word, idolize everyone that's there. You put them on this pedestal. You feel like they're all very important people, VIP people, which, you know, we all are, but honestly it's never that like crazy. Like once you meet people, once you actually get to talking to them, you'll be impressed by them, but then more so you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like even if this guy is like 10 years older than me, we're the same. Like it's not, they're not that far off from me as long as you're, and the more you're able to I think the other like amazing tip is, yeah, like be an active listener. The more you're able to really just like go into the conversation with people, really listen to them instead of like thinking about what they're thinking of you or what you have to say after. The easiest way for you to know what to respond is just be present. Like literally stay present with them, listen to what they're saying, and then let that naturally spur something for you to say back. So I feel like so many people, especially when I was younger too, approaching networking events, I always get so caught up with what I'm thinking that when it's actually my time to say something, then it's like, it doesn't feel natural. I forget what I'm saying. And then you can tell that I'm trying to just like keep up with whatever I'm trying to keep up with, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. And also, like, I noticed something you said too, is it's like, rather than thinking about what they're thinking about you, and it's like a lot of fear is just like this again, a limiting belief, a fear of judgment that's not even occurring in reality, but we just constantly, like, especially when we're kids, right? We're in middle school, we're insecure, we're walking down the hallway, oh my God, everyone's looking at me, what are they thinking, you know? Like, it's not true. Like, no one's
Yeah,
looking, no one gives a shit. And like, if
for
that one
sure.
person is judging you, then they're probably an asshole with their own issues, you know? Like,
Exactly. They have their own issues for sure. For sure.
yes.
That's what I was telling. So when I was on that call yesterday, he was like, you know, I'm scared. He was kind of bullied in high school too, and I felt for him, but I was like, look, okay. So the other tip is, I know it's so. At least for me, again, bringing back to my own experiences, when I first started to network, my biggest fear was approaching people. But I knew that was my biggest fear. So I was like, I'm going to conquer this fear. I have to just, and if you guys think about it, everything in life, how do you get to a place where you feel comfortable with it? You got to just do it. You got to just do it until you feel comfortable with it. So when I
Yeah.
started to go to networking event, I would have this fear, but then I'm like, you know what? I'm here. I'm just going to approach people as often as I can. And then once you start to network, you will start to strategize your own like process and plans. But I literally will just go up to people, even if they're in groups. I will introduce myself. I will ask them what they're all doing, and I will time it too because I know I'm there to conquer my fear. Because I think a lot of other people, especially I think like people that are just starting to network, even if it's not a networking event at parties or anything, you go into a party, you go into a networking event, you see subconsciously, especially if you're scared, you're going to try to look for people that are less intimidating. You're going to try to approach people that seem like, okay, you know what, they're going to be easy for me to just like mix in and like talk to. And once you get into that group and you feel accepted, you will not want to go and talk to other people. I feel like that's what so many people do. But if your intention really is to build up your networking skills, build up your social skills, and get over that fear, you have to remember that. So as you're at the event, you have to keep remembering that's what you're there for. So not to like say that you have to like, you know, be present with every single person, but the more connections you have, the better. So like after you talk to a few people, you know, make a note to like move on. Like that's another thing to practice too. I think the exit strategy at networking events was another lesson I had to learn, because it's not, you know, you have to like learn a way to like politely let the conversation go and then move forward. And some people are like really caught up in the conversation. You'll have to like learn how to do that too. But I think for me, what I did the most was I just started to approach people. I would just be like, hey, me and my friend actually made this YouTube video a couple of years back about like, I think it was talking, we were talking about like how to approach people or something like that too. And because she came with me a lot to networking events, she was like, Ariel, sometimes I feel like I get so caught up in the act of approaching groups that I don't even really like look at them first. I just like go in. I'm just like, hi, I'm Ariel. And then that's like what you have to do, right? You got to just like keep doing it, especially if you feel a little bit intimidated. And the more I did it, the more comfortable I felt. So I think that's a huge thing, just like going to different people, approaching them. And the more people you approach, the more you have in your network as well. Oh, but going back to your earlier point though, there's definitely going to be assholes in the world. And there's probably going to be assholes at some networking events too. This is how you build thicker skin too. Honestly, you know, with growth comes some pain, comes some challenges. Like sometimes some people are going to be assholes, they're going to be mean, but it's okay. You can just let that experience go and move forward. And every single experience will still be a learning experience for you. So even that experience will teach you something about how you can handle a similar situation in the future, right?
For sure. I think, you know, every person is like either a lesson or a blessing. And so it's like,
Yeah,
you know, if they're not
exactly.
a blessing, they're a lesson. And that's okay. And allowing that to teach you too, where it's like, number one, I'm strong and I can overcome feeling uncomfortable, even if someone is not necessarily the kindest person in the world. But number two, like 100%, I can tell you right now, that is a reflection of them and not you. And like, I just want you guys to imagine, like, there's this one mean person, right? And imagine like, you know, like those, like when you speed up a video and you see like people walking like by throughout the day and there's just a bunch of people walking by. Like imagine like that person standing there the whole day and then people are just walking by the whole day, like coming up to them. No matter who the person coming up to them is, his reaction is gonna be the same, right? Because it's not about you, it's about them. It's about their internal world. And so keeping that in mind and realizing, because I think the biggest fear that we have about rude people is that we allow it to change our perception of ourselves. It's like, oh, if he was mean to me, if she was mean to me, then something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
No, like something's wrong with them, and you know, I hope they heal, but it's not your
Yeah.
problem, right?
That's such a good point.
Yeah,
No, I really agree with that.
right, like it's such an important thing to keep in mind, and also like approaching people from a place of love rather than fear. So it's like really holding space for those
Yes.
people, you know, like you don't have to feel bad for them, you don't have to hold their hand, but like if someone is angry and mean, like they're probably hurting and it's not your problem, right? Like it just, you don't have to take it, but just actually like opening your heart to that person rather than taking it personally.
Yeah.
Looking at them from an outward third person perspective, watch the interaction from a third person perspective, see them being rude to you, and then be like, this guy, this girl's inner child is probably in pain right now. Like, that sucks. I hope you heal. Walk away. You know, and so it's really about like not even like taking the high road, but just allowing yourself to be your higher self, to look at things from a higher perspective,
For
so
sure.
that everyone can come from a place of love and healing rather than that fear. Because everything really is done either from fear or love, and
It is.
you're the one that gets to choose.
It is. This is a little bit off tangent, but I have a story that matches exactly. I'm drinking Okay, guys, I have complicated Starbucks orders. That's why I always use my app. Even if I'm already at Starbucks, I will use my app to put in the order so I don't have to go up to the counter. This is a venti iced Americano with light ice, soy milk, 2 pumps of sugar-free vanilla, and today I treated myself. I gave myself 1 pump of white mocha. That's my drink, guys.
I love that.
Anyways, um, okay, I have a story. So that was such a good point, and I personally went through that recently. And like me and LeeNor, we share tips like this with you guys all the time. But every single life lesson, everything, even if we're really strong at it, it's nothing is linear, nothing is like static. We go through our own experiences and ups and downs, and lessons that we share. We'll also experience it again and again too, because we're humans. We'll forget, or like we'll get stuck in difficult situations, and it takes effort all the time. And the reason why I'm building it up is because I almost failed at this. So like I'm currently, as you know, LeeNor, like I'm gonna be nomadic soon. I'm in Toronto, but I'm gonna be traveling soon. So I was using a storage unit, but I gave that up. So I've been selling all my things. Like I'm just selling it on Facebook Marketplace. It's so I love it. So I've been meeting a lot of people picking up my stuff. And a couple of weeks ago, I had a couple of nice monitors to sell. So one of the monitors I sold, I put on the Facebook Marketplace, but because I brought it to so many places, I don't have any of the cables. I just have the monitor. It was $300, but I was selling it for $100. So really good discount. It's only like 2 years old. But I wrote in the description, I'm like, I don't have any cables. Okay. So that's what I'm selling it as a discount. This woman, and a couple people messaged me, but I gave it to the first woman that messaged me. And then she asked me a lot of questions and I answered them all and it was fine. And then she came to pick up the monitor and she was flustered when she got here. She was fine, but I think she was just like kind of caught up with like downtown traffic. But I gave her the monitor. I was like, you have my contact. If anything happens, just let me know. Like, we'll figure it out. She was like, okay. And then she was like all flustered. And then maybe like an hour later, I was getting a haircut. She calls me on my way to the haircut and she started yelling at me. And she was like, there's no cables. I'm like, I know. I wrote it. We talked about this. I wrote it in the description and that's why I'm selling at a discount. Like, there's no cable. She was like, there's none at all though. I didn't think that there was no cable at all. How do I connect this? Like, how do I like make like have power? And then I don't know. Like, I'm not a technician. I'm like, I was like, I'm sorry. Like, there was a misunderstanding, but I put in the description. That's why I'm selling it for that price. And then she started, and at that point I was like, cool. I was like, I can manage this. But then she started to call out my morals and my values. And I'm just like, girl, she was like, you're a scammer. She was like, you are trying to scam me. I am going to report you. She was like, I can't believe you're trying to scam me. You cannot do this to anyone else. And I'm just like, excuse me. I'm like, I am not a scammer. And I started to feel myself getting worked up. Like, and in that moment, I was like, both observing myself, but also I couldn't control it because I was like, I haven't had that sort of like intense interaction from a stranger in so long. So I was realizing that I was getting worked up, but I was just like, wow, like she's really yelling at me. And then in the end, I was like, look, I'm going to give you some places you can go check for cables. Like, you can find them online and everything. But if you're this unhappy, like, I will just refund it to you. Like, for me, I hated how she kept calling me a scammer. Like, I don't know if in that situation I should have like done that, but in the end, I was just like, if you can't find anything, you know what? Like, I know I'm not a scammer, so I don't want to deal with this situation, so I'm just gonna refund you. And after a few days, she kept messaging me. She like sent me screenshots of her and her son for no reason talking about the monitor, and I was just like, what do you want me to do about this? So in the end, I refunded her, and honestly, it shook me a little bit because I was like, wow, like that was so intense. And to be honest, I don't think I was as composed as I wanted to be throughout the interaction. And then I was reflecting on it a lot, and then I started to think about like myself. Like, it kind of got to myself too. But then a couple days later, another girl reached out to me and bought a more expensive monitor from me. Same situation, it's a better monitor, but I had no cables. I also wrote the description. She was super sweet. She actually came early and she waited downstairs for like 15 minutes. I remember because I was walking home, and I remember walking by her car and I was like, hey, I need to pick up the monitor. She was like, don't worry, just take your time. It's all good. And then I was like, okay. And then I was walking by and I see a police car like go around here because you're not supposed to park here. And I see her car there. So I was like, shit. And then I was like traumatized from the previous experience. So I was like, this girl's going to yell at me. So I ran upstairs, got the monitor, like carried it down. And then she was just like by her car. And I was like, oh my gosh, did the police see you? She was like, yeah, he drove by, but it's all good. It's all good. She was like, and then in the end, we started talking. She was like, oh, I briefly looked at your Facebook profile and we have mutual friends. And then we had a great conversation. She checked the monitor. She was like, okay, so there's like no cables, like you said, right? I'm like, yeah. And she was like, yeah, I can probably just find it online, but like, thank you so much. And then it was a wonderful interaction. And afterwards, it just made me really think. I'm like, you know what? Like the lady before, I I'm not trying to blame her or anything, but now you see the two comparisons of the same situation. You realize that she really is going through her own shit. Like she has issues. She was probably having a very terrible day because I know because she started talking about work and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So you can tell that like everyone just like they have their own issues, they have their own stories. And the more, like LeeNor said earlier, the more you can take yourself out of the situation and see that it's their own issues that they have to deal with and don't take it personally. I think that was my issue with the first lady. Like at some point I did take it personally. I'm like, you freaking call me a scammer? I'm no scammer, you know? So I think you got to just like really, because now I can see that, okay, so like everyone's different. Like, and if I took it really impersonally, I wouldn't have had to get emotional because of that situation too, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy because it's literally like the two people we were talking about. Like you actually face that in real life.
Yeah.
The exact same situation, but two completely different people. And it just
Mm-hmm.
goes to show you,
Exactly.
like it's amazing. Like you said, it has nothing to do with you. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. And it's a beautiful story because it's like as funny as it is and annoying as it must have been to deal with,
Yeah.
everyone who's watching right now, like you guys can take that away and like walk away from here, and the next time someone is rude to you, remember the story. Hey, like the person's
Mm-hmm.
probably going through something. It has nothing to do
Yes.
with me. And, like affirm
Yeah,
it to yourself, right? Like this is not a
for
reflection
sure.
of who I am, it's a reflection of what
Yeah.
they're going
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Lenora, because I think what kept me thinking about that situation a lot was in that I think when I do still lose my cool at times is when the other person, like whoever I'm interacting with, regardless of the situation, if they start to get emotional and they start to trigger me, like they start to point fingers at me,
right.
like obviously I have had many situations like that, and naturally, organically, sometimes I can tamper it down. Sometimes I'm able to just let it go, and sometimes I get into it. But honestly, for me, if I'm being completely like honest and vulnerable, those are the moments where sometimes I'm just like, I don't exactly know how to diffuse the situation. Like, how do I take it impersonally, but be able to diffuse it? Because when someone is in that state of intense emotion, like, what do you do? Like, what do you and if I just walked away, she would have reported me, or like if I just didn't do anything, you know? So I think, you know, I know we're a little bit off tangent, but I do think this is like a good point to talk about, just like dealing with
Right.
people in general. So do you have any like thoughts like that? I'm curious to
Yeah.
think what you see.
No, it's a great question. I think it really depends on the situation. So like if it's a friend or if it's a stranger or you know if it's a teacher, if it's a student, it really depends. There are things that you can do in each and every situation, but I want to give you like maybe a little bit of an example of each just briefly. Like for example, the reason it's different is like if it's a friend, if it's someone that you know, we all get into arguments sometimes. It's like you really care about this person, but someone's triggered, causes an argument. If it's that type of situation, you really want to use your words, right? And you want to what an angry person does not expect in a situation, they do expect you to hit back. Not physically, obviously, but you know,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
become aggressive mutually. What they don't expect is you to react in kindness and understanding. And so for you to say something like, hey, listen, you know, before you say anything else, I just want to remind you, like, we genuinely care about each other. This conversation is not productive right now because we're both heated. I respect you. I respect myself. I don't want this to escalate further because we're both going to say things we don't mean. So why don't we both take a breath and step away for a moment? So that's,
Mm-hmm.
really, really communicate. Communication is really important.
For
It's
sure.
important to honor the other person, honor their emotions, show them that you're listening, but then also show them that you respect yourself and you're not going to take it, right? And you can
Yeah.
really apply this to other conversations, right? You're obviously not going to use the same words because maybe you're not really close with a stranger, but you can really follow that strategy of showing that you're honoring what they're feeling rather than reacting. You're holding space, but then
Mm-hmm.
also showing that you are not going to take it. So let's say, like, someone, you bump the back of someone's car, and they get out of their car and they start yelling at you, like, hey, I hear you. I really do apologize. It was not my intention. So just being completely, clear about it, taking breaths before you speak, not
Yeah.
not speaking out of, really, before you speak, pause and consider, is this really what I want to say, or am I speaking from anger? And if I'm speaking from anger, what do I want to say instead? And go with something, hey, listen, like, I know you're upset. I would be too, holding space, showing that you hear them. I would be too. But this really wasn't my intention. I hope you understand that. Let's find a way to settle this calmly so that no one gets hurt. So really
For
just
sure.
holding space and communicating clearly, because that in itself is, it's like, imagine it's like this person who is raging is a fire and you're basically being the water, where you're like,
Yeah.
hey, calm down, it's okay. It's like
Yeah.
when,
See, my
you know
issue
what,
sometimes is my fire comes out and I'm just like, can't be water, man. I gotta be fire too. No, just joking. But no, I totally get it. And I think hearing what you said, though, I actually do think it's harder with strangers because with friends, I think, and the thing is, I vet my friends because before they become my friends. So that kind of conversation is
right,
easier for me to like have. But when it's a stranger, first of all, it's shocking because you're like, what
yeah,
the fuck? Like a
right,
stranger is freaking yelling at me. And then, but then second, I do think it's exactly what you said. Like you have to just be able to show that you should try to understand their point of view, like that
right,
you should try to like at least know why they're reacting in this way, call it out and be like, I see that, hold the space,
right,
say your piece. But then if they continue to be upset, you got to just let it go somehow. I think that is what I'm still actively working on too, because a lot of times when people get worked up or I see like
yeah,
certain faults or whatever, I want to like force a resolution or I want them to see my point of view. I want to give a life lesson to people that don't want a life lesson from me.
right.
So, and I have to learn to like, you know what, like I gotta just let that shit go sometimes. So I totally thank you for saying
Yeah.
that and like giving me more thoughts too. But we do have a couple minutes left. I want to like circle it back to networking. So since that's what we're supposed to be talking about, there's so much here too, though, that I feel like we didn't even touch on yet.
We need to do
I
this again.
Yeah, no, maybe like we can do just like more networking tips in general, like a part two about
Mhm.
that, because
Yeah,
I do think it's super fun, but it is a skill to practice just like anything. I
right.
do want to say, at least for me, like maybe we can both give like a tip and kind of speak to it, like one of your biggest tips or one of the biggest things that help you with networking. For me, guys, and this is just not just networking, it's me doing a live, me networking, me going to a party, me doing anything, talking to anyone. The more you can just be yourself, it sounds
Hmm.
cliche, but it's so true. Like I think the reason why I emphasize this so much is because I have started to realize just how much I am becoming fully comfortable being myself, regardless of the platform, the situation, the people. And it has made my life so much easier. Like even doing live, even vlogging, when I first started to, you know, have a more of a public persona, I was so like, there's a term in Chinese, it's called 做作. It means like you're kind of like acting, I'll be like I'll turn on the camera, I'll be like, hi guys, like this, blah blah blah, and I would have to like think about like how I want to like present myself. And then I would actually hide away some of the more eccentric aspects of me or like the weird parts about me. But then the more as time went on, I'm just like, that is what makes me unique. When I go to networking events and I'm fully myself and I'm weird and all of that, that is what like makes me
Yes.
stand out from other people. So I think for like anyone, just understand that we're all unique, and the things that you actually are scared about of yourself or your flaws sometimes are usually are your strengths as well. So just like
Hmm.
don't be afraid to experiment and try being yourself fully in front of people. And the thing is that going back to my other point earlier, this is why I recommend just like approaching as many people, as many different groups as possible, because you're not going to vibe with everyone. Some people might not, yeah, they might not get you, and you'll understand that, but you can move on, and then you'll approach different people and show your true self, and then you'll vibe with certain people. I think the other thing to remember is if you try to put on a mask, or if you try to wash away your personality, that's also going to impact the connections you make. Because if you don't put your true personality, or you're kind of like wiping away, and you connect with different people, you don't really know if you're actually vibing with them, or if it's all just surface level talk, you know? So you got to be able to try to be yourself as much as possible, because in the long run, that's actually going to ensure that you build the relationships that you actually want to build too with new people.
Right.
I think that's,
100%.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
about you?
No, I love that. I think it's also just like from a spiritual perspective, it's like when we are the most aligned, we can attract from a better place. And so it's like in that same way, when we are aligned with our true selves and we're acting out from that authenticity, people can sense that. Like maybe like we don't always recognize it, but people can sense when, someone is not being authentic, right? Like you just do. Even if you don't consciously sense it, you can subconsciously feel this person's not being authentic with me. And you will actually draw people to you by being authentic, because everyone is wearing a mask. And so it's
Yeah.
like you're that one person who is brave enough to be your true self. People will see reflections of themselves in you. Oh my God, that's
Yes.
the part of myself I was scared to show. I want to be her friend. And
Yes.
then from that point, from a point of safety, you can actually create genuine connections. People are going to want to talk to you. They're going to feel safe with you, and they're going to want to help you because
Yes.
they see themselves in you. And so just
Yes.
keeping that in mind, and I think that something that you guys can take moving forward as well is like, it's easier said than done. Yes, it's not the simplest thing in the world to just out of the blue show up to your first networking event and be yourself when everyone around you is standing beautifully tall in beautiful suits and dresses and elegant manners, and they're all wearing masks. The only one taking off their mask being you is scary. Okay, so don't be hard on yourself if it's not easy at first. But what you can start to do, which is going to work, is do your own inner work, because your outer environment is always going to be a reflection of what you have inside. And so when you work on yourself, rather than focusing on working on the outward, focus on yourself, do the inner child healing, do the self-awareness work, heal your limiting beliefs, meditate every day for 8 weeks straight, right? This literally changes the structure of your brain, right? Do all these things that will help you on a cellular level, and then that new you, that elevated you, still you, but elevated, happier, more confident, will show up to that event, be able to take off his or her mask, and then inspire others around you to do so.
I love that. I love that. There's two more things I want to say, but I definitely think we need to have a follow up on networking. I feel like we just started to talk about things. Okay, so two things. One, first, just tailing off what you just said. I absolutely agree. And I think this is where you need to start. Like, you need to start from inner work, understanding yourself fully, knowing who you are, then being your genuine self in front of people. However, as you keep ascending, if let's say you really start to love networking, you want to go to like events, you want to like show that you can like, socialize, and you can, connect with people that you want to use it to your power, then I do think, at least for me, what I started to learn is, honestly, I still wear masks, but selectively and strategically, because I will still present my full self however I want to be. What's more so, I have learned that I am multidimensional. I have so many different sides to me. And the better I get at being conscious and present in every moment and knowing how I want to socialize with people, then the next level is like when you're at events, different groups, you can kind of gauge the energy, and whatever you want to get from that situation, you'll put on that self that you want to be in front of them. But it's nothing about like you're putting on different masks because of fear. You're actually putting on different personas that is already a part of you. Because of power and love. Like, you want to attract the right people. You want to use the situation how you want to for your benefit. So I think we can save that for our next chat. Lastly, though, I want to quickly just talk about our story, though, because that was like one of the reasons why we wanted to do this networking talk. Me and LeeNor actually met through networking. We were both on Clubhouse for a period, but now we're both like off it. But if you guys don't know, Clubhouse is another social app where it's a voice, it's an audio only app where you can like join rooms, you can have discussions like this. So we both love talking and sharing everything we want to share. So we were both on it, and I think I think LeeNor, you joined a room I was hosting maybe, or we were both in a room or something. Yeah, and then I think you joined one of our rooms, and I was hosting a room, and I was just like right away just so drawn to LeeNor because honestly, most people in the rooms, I love it. Like I love having the conversations, but most people are really shy and they may say a few comments or they may get a little bit awkward, which is completely fine. But I remember, I think we were talking about like twin flames or like something esoteric. But yeah, LeeNor came on and she was like, she was very gracious, very eloquent, very kind and loving, but so like she knew what she was saying. Like you just like came on and you can just like talk, and I was just like so impressed by you. And I remember that's how we connected afterwards. We added each other, and I see because we were both able to be confident and be ourselves and really share like the knowledge that we wanted to share on these topics genuinely to like help others and to connect. I felt that energy from you. That was why we were able to. And the other thing is like, if you really like someone, quick tip, make sure you stay in contact with them. Like make sure you exchange contact information. That's what we did. We connected on Instagram and we started to tell each other about our lives. And see, when you network and you build the right connections, like this is only going to make your life more beautiful and fulfilling. So I just wanted to share that story with everyone because that's how we met, right? I mean, what is your perspective? Did I miss anything?
Oh, I'm just like so flattered. That's so sweet. Yeah, I think, you know, everything you said is like, it's so on point. And I like noticed you use the word energy too. And it's like, energy doesn't lie, right? And we attract at the vibration in which we are at, right? And so at that moment, Ariel and I were at the same vibration and our energies were matching, and like our energies were, we weren't just vibing, our energies were vibing. And so it's like that, like, so when you're afraid to show up as yourself, your energy gets dimmed, right? But when you can come up and be confident to be yourself, even if it's a version of yourself, still you, but that persona that is suitable in that moment, you are allowing yourself to, it makes me so happy. Like you can connect with like your soul tribe, you know, and it's just such a beautiful thing because it's like when I met Ariel, I was like, oh my God, like people like this exist. Like what? Like,
love it, yeah.
you know,
It's amazing.
it's so, I love it. So yeah, guys, like don't be afraid to be yourself because amazingly beautiful things can come out of it. Like when we're connecting with others out of a place of inauthenticity. I don't know if that's a word, but when you're not being authentic,
it is.
like you attract people that are actually not good for you because like you have to translate your soul to them, right? But when you connect with people who are on the same soul level as you form these beautiful connections that can be good for your professional life, but also like just nourish you on a personal level. And that's really important. Like I know our society emphasizes the hustle and the grind and the individuality, but having real close connections with people who resonate with you and feel good to your energy is really important. And it's important for our hearts, for our souls, for our physical body, our mental body. So show up as yourself so that you can nurture yourself.
For sure. Amazing. Oh my gosh, I feel so good. Okay, but we're definitely going to do a part 2 so we can share even more like tactical tips. But I love this, and thank you guys so much for joining. I love that you guys were participating too. This is great. I think we saw some of the comments, but yeah, we'll be doing another live for sure. Thank you guys so much for joining, and guys, make sure to follow Life with LeeNor. That's her handle. Life with LeeNor, right? Life with LeeNor. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. LeeNor posts great content all the time. And again, she offers a lot of services as well. So check out her bio link. Is it in your bio link? Why don't you just take, here.
Yeah.
Here you go.
You're good. So I actually, right now I have an article in my bio that I wrote, but I'll go ahead and change it now because it's been up there for 24 hours. You can find the article if you want to send me a message. It was about how to find your purpose and turn that into profit. But I'm going to put my bio link back up. It includes an application to work with me, but also a bunch of free stuff like my podcast. I also actually have something for you guys. I have a workbook, and it's like all of my coaching but in a workbook, so you get to do it self-paced. It's extremely affordable and fun and beautiful, and it's currently on sale on Etsy for the next 24 hours. So if you want the link, let me know. Also, just reach out, let me know that you were on here. I want to connect with you guys. I want to kind of form those relationships, because the fact that you guys stayed this long to me is really impressive, and I'm honored and grateful. So if you want to send me a DM as well, let me know that you were on here. I would love to connect with you.
I love that. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, guys, I also offer a bunch of stuff. Go check out my bio link. Sign up for my email newsletter. I also, I was like, I have it all prepared. I'm just like, I have stuff. Go check it out. No, but seriously, I do calls. Okay, guys. I actually just launched a text messaging. I can't talk. Text messaging service, because I know a lot of you guys are still in school, kind of shy. You guys can text me if you're in the States or Canada, and I can help you through the offers, the personalized offers I have on there. Sign up for my email newsletter. I'm actually in email marketing, so don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to just spam you. But yeah, check out both of our links. DM us if you guys have any questions. As you guys know, as you can see from this topic, we love to connect with people. So, but yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. I really hope you guys found this valuable. Thank you for joining, LeeNor. I always have such a good time talking to you. We'll do another one soon. And I'm going to post this on my IGTV, guys. So, and I'll post on my story so you guys can rewatch it and share it with your friends as well.
Okay, perfect.
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, LeeNor. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.